What could be the meaning of the mysterious summons? I had made no mistake respecting the name of my patient; it had been twice repeated over the telephone; yet that the call had not emanated from Mrs. Hewett's house was now palpably evident. Days had been when I should have regarded the episode as preluding some outrage, but to night I felt more disposed to ascribe it to some silly practical joke. Eltham walked up briskly. "You're in demand tonight, Doctor," he said. "A young person called for you almost directly you'd left your house, and learning where you were gone, followed you." "Indeed," I said, a trifle incredulously. "There are plenty of other doctors, if the case is an urgent one." "She may have thought it would save time, as you were actually up and dressed," explained Eltham, "and the house is quite near to here, I understand." I looked at him a little blankly. Was this another effort of the unknown jester? "I have been fooled once," I said. "That phone call was a hoax." "But I feel certain," declared Eltham earnestly, "that this is genuine. The poor girl was dreadfully agitated. Her master has broken his leg and is lying helpless. Number 280, Rectory Grove." "Where is the girl?" I asked sharply. "She ran back directly she'd given me her message." "Was she a servant?" "I should imagine so. French, I think. But she was so wrapped up I had little more than a glimpse of her. I am sorry to hear that someone has played a silly joke on you, but believe me," he was very earnest, "this is no jest. The poor girl could scarcely speak for sobs. She mistook me for you, of course." "Oh!" said I grimly. "Well, I suppose I must go. Broken leg, you said, and my surgical bag, splints and so forth, are at home." "My dear Petrie!" cried Eltham in his enthusiastic way, "you no doubt can do something to alleviate the poor man's suffering immediately. I will run back to your rooms for the bag, and rejoin you at 280 Rectory Grove." "It's awfully good of you, Eltham." He held up his hand. "The call of suffering humanity, Petrie, is one which I may no more refuse to hear than you." I made no further protest after that, for his point of view was evident and his determination adamant, but told him where he would find the bag, and once more set out across the moonbright common, he pursuing a westerly direction and I going east. Some 300 yards I had gone, I suppose, and my brain had been very active the while, when something occurred to me which placed a new complexion upon this second summons. I thought of the falsity of the first, of the improbability of even the most hardened practical joker practicing his wiles at 1 o'clock in the morning. I thought of our recent conversation. Above all, I thought of the girl who had delivered the message to Eltham, the girl whom he had described as a French maid, whose personal charm had so completely enlisted his sympathies. Now, to this train of thought came a new one, and, adding it, my suspicion became almost a certainty. I remembered, as knowing the district I should have remembered before, that there was no number 280 in Rectory Grove. Pulling up sharply, I stood looking about me. Not a living soul was in sight, not even a policeman. Where the lamps marked the main paths across the common, nothing moved; in the shadows about me nothing stirred. But something stirred within me, a warning voice which for long had lain dormant. What was afoot? A breeze caressed the leaves overhead, breaking the silence with mysterious whisperings. Some portentous truth was seeking for admittance to my brain. I strove to reassure myself, but the sense of impending evil and of mystery became heavier. At last I could combat my strange fears no longer. I turned and began to run toward the south side of the common, toward my rooms, and after Eltham. I had hoped to head him off, but came upon no sight of him. An all-night tramcar passed at the moment that I reached the high road, and as I ran around behind it I saw that my windows were lighted and that there was a light in the hall. My key was yet in the lock when my housekeeper opened the door. "There's a gentleman just come, Doctor," she began. I thrust past her and raced up the stairs into my study. Standing by the writing table was a tall, thin man, his gaunt face brown as a coffee berry and his steely gray eyes fixed upon me. My heart gave a great leap and seemed to stand still. It was Nayland Smith. "Smith!" I cried. "Smith, old man! By God, I'm glad to see you!" He wrung my hand hard, looking at me with his searching eyes, but there was little enough of gladness in his face. He was altogether grayer than when last I had seen him, grayer and sterner. "Where is Eltham?" I asked. Smith stared back as though I had struck him. "Eltham?" he whispered. "Eltham? Is Eltham here?" "I left him 10 minutes ago on the common." Smith dashed his right fist into the palm of his left hand and his eyes gleamed almost wildly. "My God, Petrie!" he said, "am I fated always to come too late?" My dreadful fears in that instant were confirmed. I seemed to feel my legs totter beneath me. "Smith, you don't mean..." "I do, Petrie." His voice sounded very far away. "Fu-Manchu is here, and Eltham, God help him, is his first victim!" End of Chapter 1. Recorded by Elaine Tweddle, Stirling, Ontario.